Hello. Today is going to be a day of me going shopping, mostly book shopping. I also have some books in my back seat that I need to go unhaul. So we'll be going to Half Price Books. I am so sad to be leaving this location because this has been my favorite Half Price Books ever. And I literally go once every like 4 or 5 months, sometimes even 6 months. But I'm excited to go there kind of like one last time before I leave the state of Washington to unhaul a couple of books and shop around and just kind of reminisce. And then I am also planning to stop by Barnes & Nobles because there's some new releases that I want to read but I haven't pre-ordered. So we'll be going to do that too, and then maybe, stopping by a little coffee shop. So let's go. This seems so interesting, and I'm trying not to do a compulsive buy for a book I've never heard of before. But I kind of want to read it. It sounds so good. Has anybody heard of these? Because this sounds like a fun time. I kind of want to check them out. I think this is book 1, book 2, and book 3. I totally almost bought an entire YA series that I've never heard of, but my order was ready before I could make a decision, so I decided to take my money and get out of there because I was going to do some damage. And I've decided that I don't want to invest in buying entire series before I know that I'll like them, because it really hurts me to unhaul so many books at one time. My husband really wants me to play The Last of Us since I've been enjoying the show, and I'm a little bit of a recreational gamer at this point. So we're gonna swing by GameStop. The mall is right here, so maybe I'll go inside the mall to see if they have anything I like, and then we'll make our way to Barnes & Nobles, where we might be able to grab a few books because I totally just made enough money in there to fund my Barnes & Noble spree. I am back. I am officially home and I have secured the goods. I had a very therapeutic shopping spree and I can't wait to share what I grabbed with you guys. First things first, I was not able to grab The Last of Us for PlayStation 5 because it is sold out literally everywhere in my vicinity. So I'm gonna have to go with the digital copy. But while I was at GameStop, I did grab the Ghost of Tsushima. This seemed pretty interesting and pretty cool, so I'll be checking this one out for sure. My goal while I was at Barnes & Noble's was to, one, pick up things that have been on my mind, that have been nagging me for a while, that for some reason I kept passing over. So there's going to be quite a few books in here that I just have decided not to purchase several times, but every time I'm in the store, I see it and I want to grab it, and somehow it ends up in my hand, but it never actually makes it home with me. So we definitely rectified that on this shopping trip. And then also I tried to pick up books that I was sure was going to be at least 4 or 5 stars. I'm hoping that the lowest rating I'll give to any of the books I grabbed today would be 3 stars. I really just wanted to take the time to grab some books that called out to me that I thought I would genuinely enjoy without any of the pressures. I didn't look at reviews or think about reviews while I was doing this shopping. And it was just so fun to shop for books with no strings attached, and just trying to find ones that genuinely fit me and my style. So the first book I grabbed was All the Broken Places. This seems like it's going to be a very emotional read. We're following a 91-year-old woman named Gretel who lives in an apartment in London. She just got new neighbors, which is a family that has a little boy, and she takes a liking to him and they start to develop a friendship with one another. However, as Gretel starts to deepen her relationship with this young boy, he is experiencing things in his life and with his family that triggers reminiscence of her past that Gretel would much rather forget. Like the fact that she had to escape Nazi Germany when she was 12 with her mother. They went to live in France during the post-World War II era, and also the fact that Gretel's father was a commander at an extermination camp in Germany. Gretel will be forced to face down the trauma of her past in order to help her new young friend. Gretel is at a similar crossroads to one she encountered long ago. Then she denied her own complicity, but now, faced with a chance to interrogate her guilt, grief, and remorse, she can choose to save a young boy. If she does, she will be forced to reveal the secret she has spent a lifetime protecting. This time, she can make a different choice than before, whatever the cost to herself. This seems like it's going to be a combination of resurrecting and rectifying Gretel's past, and it will have a beautiful relationship between an elderly woman and a young boy. The next book I grabbed was the sequel to Scorpica, which is Arca. Scorpica is a new release fantasy that is set in a matriarchy. There's 5 queendoms, and they wholly depend upon girls and the birth of girls. However, they are currently experiencing a drought, and no girl has been born in the last 10 years. That is the setup of essentially the first book. All of the queendoms are pushed to the point of desperation, and they start to break this tenuous peace that they've shared for the last 100 or so years. Book 1 ends with this provocation that sets up the stage for a war sequel, and so I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen in Arca. Also, I think the cover is really beautiful. This is one of my favorite cover releases for the year. The next book that I grabbed is one that's been on my radar for a while. I spent the last few years reading Robin Hobb. Earlier this year, I got into Mercedes Lackey. I've just been wanting to read some of the earlier examples of fantasy, especially epic and high fantasy, especially if it includes dragons. And as I'm going down the backlist of authors, there's just no way that I can't read from Anne McCaffrey. And this is such a beloved series. I grabbed the bind up of the Dragon Riders of Pern. I hear nothing but amazing things about this, and I feel now that I'm more prepared to go into this series, I have realistic expectations of what fantasy was like, especially by female authors during the mid to late 80s and early 90s. And so I would love to do just kind of like a comparison between Mercedes Lackey and Robin Hobb and Anne McCaffrey. The next book is a book that I often pick up when I'm in the store, but for some reason it never makes it home with me, and I decided that that ends today. I grabbed Hyde. I actually really like this cover. This is a play on Jekyll and Hyde. I'm guessing we're following Captain Hyde, who is a detective, and he's been keeping a secret, and that is the fact that he lives in 2 different worlds, one of which is actually reality and the second is a dream state, and he has really no control over which one he's existing in at a single time. He finds himself drawn to this brutal crime scene that has something to do with ancient Celtic gods and sacrificial rituals. Hyde's inability to differentiate between his real world and his dream state poses a really large challenge to him trying to solve this crime. With the city being nervous and on edge, Hyde is wading into a murder investigation entirely blind, and he's going to have to rely on his real world experiences as well as his dream state for clues to solve this murder. The next one I grabbed just seemed so fun and I thought the cover was beautiful, and it was a signed edition. This is Murder for Your Employer. This is pretty unique in the synopsis. When I read it, I was just like, this sounds so interesting. It's basically a school where you learn the art of murder. We're following the arrival of 3 new students who have all been burned by previous employers, and they are determined to get revenge. Under the guidance of this dean, who's also a master of homicide, they're going to learn how to master the homicidal art. I am so excited to pick this up because I think the idea of going to a school and learning how to master the art of murder and then going out and doing it, chef's kiss. It sounds like chef's kiss. The next one is one that I was excited to read. I ended up pre-ordering it, and then for some reason I just got really nervous and I canceled the pre-order. And then when I was in the store the last few times, I grabbed it but then decided to put it back. And I honestly think it's just because of the price. The cost of books have just been going up lately, and I'm becoming more cautious of how much money I'm spending on books, especially ones that I'm not really sure when I'll read, how long it'll sit on my shelf, or if I'll even like them when I get around to them. But honestly, when you hear the synopsis of this book, it just sounds so perfect for me, and that is going to be The Love Scribe. Our central character is Alice, and her best friend Gabby just got her heart broken. In order to cheer her up, Alice decides to write her a love letter. When Gabby is reading this love letter in a coffee shop, she actually finds love and becomes convinced that it has something to do with the letter that Alice wrote. And so Gabby shares it with her sister and with her friends, and they all find love too. And so Alice is kind of thrust into this world of being this love scribe where she writes letters for clients so that they can find love. Then one day she gets a request from a client who lives in a very reclusive manner, and Alice is finding that she's having a challenging time writing a letter for her. From my understanding, there's also a romance in this book for Alice herself, and I'm really looking forward to the idea of mixing love letters with romance, with magical realism. That really sounds like it's my speed, and I think that I was just holding myself back from a possible new favorite, and maybe the fact that I was so nervous to read it means that I was so afraid of being let down. But today I took the leap, and so maybe I should read this ASAP before I get nervous again. And then the last book I grabbed is one that I definitely plan to pick up for sure this year, and that's going to be The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. I read City of Brass. I've only read book 1 so far, but I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to continuing with the series later this year. I can't wait to witness the development of this author's writing now that they have finished their debut trilogy. Amina is this infamous pirate that has faced down all of the challenges and dangers associated with her job, and she has retired peacefully to enjoy family and motherhood. She is sought out by the wealthy mother of one of her former crew members to find a kidnapped daughter. Amina sees this as a perfect opportunity to have one epic adventure with her old crew, to help out an old crew member, and also gain an obscene amount of money to secure the wealth of her and her family. But the more Amina dives into the disappearance of this daughter, she learns that the situation is much more complicated than she was initially led to believe, and she's actually putting more on the line than she initially thought. These are all the books that we grabbed today. I'm excited about every single one of them, and I can't wait to share my thoughts with you guys. Thanks for watching my video, coming shopping with me today, and I will see you next time. Before you go, I've been meaning to film an announcement video for so long, and I just don't have the energy to do it, and I doubt that I'll film a separate video, so I might as well tack it on to this one. Last year, I talked about launching a Patreon on my channel, but with me starting grad school and a new job, I simply did not have it in my schedule, and so I decided to put it off until I got closer to ending grad school. Well, here we are. I'm so close to being done. I have like a month left, and so I've decided that now is the time for me to launch my Patreon. I am so excited to get to know you guys, for you guys to get to know me more intimately, and I've taken the time to really be sure of what I can commit to without overwhelming myself. With that being said, I have 3 tiers, all of them named after a favorite series of mine. We have The Nightingale, which is tier 1, which is in reference to the bear and the nightingale. Tier 2 will be bookbinders, and that is in reference to The Binding by Bridget Collins. And then of course, tier 3 is going to be called The Dreamers, in reference to Strange the Dreamer, which is like one of my all-time favorite books. I won't go into the details of what all the tiers offer here in this video. You can click the link in the description, head over there, pick the tier that suits you best, enjoy what I've already posted, and I can't wait to chat with you guys in the future. And I swear that's it. Thanks for shopping with me. Thanks for joining my Patreon, and thanks for subbing to my channel. Bye.